Howdy, guys, and welcome to another episode of the One Micronesia Podcast. And in this second episode of the year, I wanted to sit down and check back with an awesome partner of the FAS community, folks who have, really in the past have put their lives on the line to protect and serve, but then just recently have really turned to the community for pretty much a lot of things. And one of those things is to make the bridge, the gap between their organization and the FAS community in particular. So with me today on the podcast, I do have my buddy, my good friend, Sergeant Paul Tapao, spokesperson of the Guam Police Department, brother Mogathin.
Hey, Mogathin, half a day.
half a day, Mogathin. So, Paul, Happy New Year. First things first, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. I hope this new year is looking good. The foresight of 2021 is looking good for you, your family, and of course, your staff at KUAM. And, only wishing the best for this year. So, Happy New Year, everybody. It's good to be number 2 in your show.
Right. I wanted to start from the organizations that played a big part in 2020 and the years prior to 2020 in the FAS community. And I wanted to start. So I started with Menyetlu, and I was like, what better organization to head to next than GPD, who's been there at the forefront in, like I said, in trying to bridging the gap between our community and the police department. So I was like, I gotta talk to Paul. I know it's kind of last minute, but I was so happy that you agreed to jump on for the last minute record. So again, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Yeah, it's not a problem. Working closely with Menyetlu and the Micronesian Resource Center has been, I think, one of the most beautiful marriage the Guam Police Department could have done. If we look back where we were and where we are now, just to recap, it's really the efforts that was really brought forth in understanding what we, like you said, needed to do from a law enforcement perspective in bridging that gap with our fellow brothers and sisters within the FAS and FSM community. And, it was just by fate. And I always, like to share the story of how we made that connection. And it was just two buddies bumping into at a grocery store. I met with Vic Camacho, who was the executive director of Big Brothers Big Sisters. And that organization was the umbrella of Micronesian Resource Center. And, we were just talking about different community initiative. And he mentioned the Micronesian, the run, walk, and stroll event that they were doing. So, I kind of caught interest in that. I started, talking to Vic further about how we can actually partner up with some of the endeavors that we had vision in doing within the community. And, lo and behold, 3-4 years later, we are, solidified as a great partnership, with now Menyetlu and Micronesian Resource Center. And, the baton was passed to Samantha Taitano, the executive director of Menyetlu. And we as a team, we haven't stopped running, and we continue to work with them. And it's just really unfortunate where we were in 2020, and we had this big vision going into 2020, and it was just, COVID-19 kind of put a brakes on everything and what we wanted to do. But, these are the challenges that I guess we needed to see so that we can actually innovate ourselves and grow more and find different ways in tapping into community. So, the challenges that not just the Guam Police Department and the partnership with Menyetlu and Micronesian Resource Center saw with COVID-19, but the entire community, it really provided us with an opportunity to explore new ways, such as, virtual connection, finding ways to connect with the school. So, we're slowly working things, and hopefully, and God willing, that within the foresight of 2021, the easing of some of the restrictions, we're able to get back into the swing of things. And, we've been in connection and communication with Menyetlu and Micronesian Resource Center, and we're going to continue to find ways in which we can actually better the community. So looking forward to 2021, my brother. We're really looking forward, ready to go. And, one of the things, too, that I'm trying to do is get my team back. Since the onset of COVID, my team was pretty much farmed out to the precinct to cover the shortage, to ease the COVID, work with the COVID issues and, what have you with daily operation. But nonetheless, I still keep them abreast of what we're doing and how we're going to continue to move with the Guam Police Department and our Office of the Community Affairs.
Yes, and I mean, like you said, we're looking forward to better things. We have the vaccine on island now. Where the that's rolling out. The different phases as we get down to hopefully general population very soon. So hopefully that will get in place, and then we move on into 2021 onto better, bigger and better things. Is there anything you guys have maybe things that weren't done in 2020 that you guys want to kind of implement in 2021, things that maybe weren't done, probably still in a scrap paper somewhere or a napkin somewhere, just waiting to put in place?
Yeah, it's up here,
That's
the great
right.
minds that think alike, it's unfortunate, I mean, I don't, I would be remiss if I don't mention, the challenges this the Micronesian Resource Center had faced, with, of course, the passing of Ed, I mean, he was instrumental with a lot of the initiatives, the ideas, just working with him, but, I mean, it was really a difficult time with Micronesian Resource Center and the family of Minyelo. And of course, some of the other members, actually moved on to bigger and better things abroad in the United States. So, some of the things that we've collaborated going into 2020, ideas that was sprung up, we were supposed, we've reached out to the Guam Football Association, Mr. Tino Sangil with his team up at GFA. We were supposed to work together and put some sort of sporting event, and working with the various high school clubs that we had with that were FAS, FSM center based. So, we wanted to give them some sort of marketing aspect in how to do their fundraising, work with them in collaborating community effort, work with them in earning service learning hours, work with them in putting ideas and concept into play and utilizing the facility. As we wanted to do we dubbed it the Rock and Jock event, and it was supposed to be a full day event of just different sports. I mean, the facility in itself at GFA is a spectacle, and I think the grace of GFA, their executives up there, Mr. Tino San Agustin, Mr. Joseph Cepeda, and allowing us to be a part of that. We really, we move forward in trying to take advantage of that, and the concept of that rock and jock of, giving it to the clubs, the FAS, FSM clubs in the various high school to collaborate and work together and having a youth style event. And it was supposed to stay in line with, April, where April's heavy, it's pretty much calendar heavy with the youth events in the island, following Sanctuary. They have their youth retreats, and just the different things, Guam Behavior, Health and Wellness, they have the Youth for Youth event that also is held in April. So, we were targeting April and working, collaborating with the different high schools. That's still in the calendar. That's actually still in the books. We were working with Action and I'm going to keep this under wraps because once we open up, I want to go back in this, and it's something that, when I proposed this to Action, his eyes just lit up, and he was like, we can do this. But, that's forthcoming. But one of the major events that Sam, Action, and Ed and I were actually sitting down trying to collaborate was that Rock and Jock event. So, stay tuned, because once we see the lifting of restrictions and slowly working back, this is where we try to deploy the efforts and what we missed and we weren't able to hit our mark in 2020 back into the community. And, moving forward with that, I want to say Department of Education has been a great partner with our endeavors, from our GPD initiatives to our partnership with Minyelo and Micronesian Resource Center. They actually brought us the audience. We sat in an audience with all the clubs that were affiliated within the various high schools. And, sitting there with the superintendent, John Fernandez, the deputies, the club advisors, and just really wanting to bring this into the community. You can see the eyes of the students. And again, unfortunately, in 2020, we weren't able to pull this off, but that's in the calendar. That's something that we're looking forward to. And, I'm pretty sure Minyelo and Sam had talked about the Micronesian Summit, the event. That's always something to look forward to. We executed that a year ago, I think 2 years ago, up at the University of Guam. And it was a forum that was centered towards self-identity as a Micronesian. And sitting there and being a keynote speaker and being a part of that, I was really moved by the fact of just the various concepts of culture and identity and the diversity that we have. And I think that's still in the calendar, it's still in the book. And we've been a partner. The partnership with that was great. It was the first event. It was that was a really successful event. The coordinating, the just getting the logistics there, and giving these students within the various high schools the opportunity to express who they are and to accept, and understand that, hey, I need to really be more culture centric in understanding that this is who I am, and really, owning it and embracing it and being able to apply that in everyday life that we live here in Guam. And, understanding that was, when the students left, I saw a sense of pride, and that was the ticket right there. I'm like, man, I told Ed, I told Action, and I told Sam, and I told the team, we can't stop, and we got to continue the efforts and moving forward. So, the challenges were there in 2020, with the COVID. We didn't scrap anything yet. We just put it in, a big asterisk on my calendar. I have a big calendar here in my office, and I'm looking at March, April, May, and June, and we had like 5 big events slated for 2020. So, it's there. This calendar was not erased. So, we're going to continue to pick up where we left off.
That's amazing. And, continue to do so. And I want to kind of go back and talk about the summit, the forum. And I think that was just a key big thing, a big movement, I would say, because I think when we if we want to make change, and I think you have to really get down to the youth and their level and understand what they what they want and what can they work with, because I guess when we throw them all these new ways of us expecting them to do things, and they're like, well, we can't do this, we're not able to do this. I think the forum was a way to kind of ease things in and kind of see where we can go from there and what's easy for them. And I think the easy is key, and to make them start and to actually make them involved in things. I think that's the key, involvement. And you guys got them involved, and that's why they keep thinking about the next event and the next event and the next event, because they want to get involved, and especially when it comes to fun things. I mean, knowing FAS students and kids, they love sports, man. And like any kid would love sports, and you put them on a track and field, you put them on the kickball event, you guys have volleyball, basketball, man, they're there, and they're there till the end of the event. I mean, they need a sub, hey, I'm here. So I think what you guys did was just an amazing thing to get them involved and literally get them involved. Organizations in the past would say, oh, we're trying to get people involved, but have they really got them involved? I think you guys were like, no, let's talk the talk and walk the walk. I think so. So pretty much, walk the walk. There you go. So you guys got them involved, and now they're hooked, and they want to keep doing these things and want to continue to do good things. So I think that was just a beautiful thing about what you guys started and continue to do, and hopefully we'll get on in 2021.
And you're spot on. When you talked about engaging the kids and everything, inclusiveness was always been our key approach, right? How do we incorporate this concept, right, to include everybody, no matter with the kickball tournament? You mentioned our kickball tournament. We had kids with special needs participate, and it was like, okay, hey, let's play, be a part of this, and just to see the smiles from cheek to cheek, and the important thing is really understanding how inclusiveness works. How do you incorporate that, right, where you make them a part of something? And that's important with young minds, understanding that they were a part of it. They developed this. They were a part of the creation. They were a part of the foundation. And that gives them a structure to grow, learn and grow. That has always been my motto as a coach, and also as a team leader with our division or with our section was, and at the end of the day, we want the kids to learn and grow and to gain something from this, whether it's a life-changing experience, whether it's something in which you now have a foresight way of thinking and understanding where your future lies, setting goals, setting standards for yourself, and how do you achieve that? And just these little things that we did, and seeing the different reaction and the changes in a very positive way, that's the mark. And we're sitting there and we're just, we're hot washing the event, or we're just talking about hot topics, catching that and preparing for the next event. And, it's unfortunate again, that we lost Ed, but Ed had a bigger, broader idea, moving forward with the next, Micronesia Summit. And we were looking forward to that, and unfortunately, again, the challenges that happened, we're going to continue to do it. And of course, we're gonna follow the lead of Micronesian Resource Center. We're gonna follow the lead of Minyelu, and we're gonna continue to provide that assistance the best way that we can.
Amen. Paul, we're talking about all these amazing events that's happened in the past years. That's really moved the FAS community and the community here on Guam into a really literally the right direction, the direction that we want. But then, just recently, and I think everybody's heard on the link, and I heard it from the chief firsthand. Him talking about this new, Sabrina's calling it a pandemic as well. That's affecting our community here on Guam. And just recently, I heard from the chief that it's infiltrated the FAS community, and I think that's it's a really sad thing to see, because you guys are out there doing all these programs and pushing us in the right direction, and then here you go with this thing that's just like a big block, a big huge wall that's just gonna hinder us from from moving forward. But I think I want to hear from you in talking about this drugs in the FAS community. It's so sad to hear. How did you guys find that out?
Well, not to really divulge too much of, some of the integrity of some of the cases that we're working on, we did, with this particular case, we were able to understand and uncover some telltale signs that there are indicators and great cursors that show that we're starting to see the use and abuse of crystal methamphetamine within the FAS and FSM community. Now, when you take a look back in the dynamics of drugs, right, you need to understand, and the community needs to understand, that drug abuse, drug addiction, and of course, the use of illicit drugs, they have no boundaries. It touches lives in many ways. It really tears the fabric of society. Understanding that through years, Guam has really been plagued with this pandemic of the use and abuse of crystal methamphetamine. We've had the initiative, the War on Drugs, in the early 90s, trying to curtail the use and, of course, the distribution of crystal meth. And seeing now that, our FAS and FSM community, some of the community members have graduated from, I want to say, the gateway drugs, which is, tobacco, marijuana, alcohol, and, the household products such as butane and also spice. They've graduated to where you're seeing a new form of drug addiction and, of course, drug dependency in crystal methamphetamine. So seeing this and understanding the dynamics of how drug works, right, we have to understand and we have to accept the fact that as an island and as a community, crystal meth has no boundaries, and it touches lives in many ways. We have worked diligently, and this is where the importance of the prevention to education campaign, in which the Guam Police Department has branched and partnered with Minyelu, has partnered with the Department of Education. We partnered with various non-government organizations, government agencies, working closely with Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. These are things in which we understand. And, Sabrina was really, understanding it. I felt her frustration. I understood her concern. And that's just one out of the entire community or our fellow Guamanians understanding the dynamics of what addiction is happening on island. But we understand too at the Guam Police Department and how we're approaching this. We have our drug interdiction, we have our street level, and of course we have our intelligence, our special investigation section. These are collaborated with other law enforcement agencies that do drug interdiction. Another level is treatment. How do we do the treatment? Whether you're going through incarceration and you come out and you're looking for rehabilitation, you find ways. The courts will help you along the way, right? Whether they place you in some sort of recovery efforts such as Lighthouse, Oasis, or other non-government organization. But if you take a step further, right? So that's the first two approach. Prevention to education is the key. And I say this wholeheartedly because that when we see that we can change and the direction of a path, I want to say tier level student or a tier level kid or at risk kid is headed to, if we can alter that path and direction, whether it be just teaching them decision making skills, simple choices, simple decision making skills, and showing them that there are greater opportunities rather than moving forward, progressing towards this direction, we can put a stop, we can put a dent in it. Right now, we have an issue that we're dealing with. How do you do that? We need to mitigate that the best that we can. We need to do our due diligence in doing more interdiction, whether it be street interdiction, whether it's collaborating with our federal partners, whether it's collaborating with the law enforcement agency, and we gotta continue to work with treatment. We're starting to see now that with the introduction of opioids and the other synthetic drugs, we're looking at clinical treatment, and these are things in which we have forecasted that in order for us to heal as an island, we need to provide this avenue. But where we're working at, where our efforts are targeting, are within the youth, and it really is. May sound cliche because we hear it throughout the nation, right? It starts with the youth. It does start with the youth, and I can't see no way around this, because if we fail to provide a child with the proper direction, you may not have it at a household. We want to say it starts with the home, but sometimes you may not have that. You may not have that environment. So what do we do as a government agency? We provide a direction in which these kids can actually take and see an alternative path in which they understand that, if I continue down this road, I'm going to end up, this is not the lifestyle that I want. But if I make this decision and I take this path and I listen and I stay in school and I do everything that is necessary for me to succeed, one step closer to my goals, this is where we find success.
But what's the number like? Or are you guys seeing a whole lot? Is it increasing? Has it been increasing through the years? What are we looking at, like number wise?
I'm only going to use the stage of the pandemic, right? So if you look at what's going on with the pandemic, right? We use it as a gauge, right, to track what's happening with, believe it or not, the reports of crime has actually gone down. But our street interdiction has gone up. Our drug interdiction at the street level has gone up. And if you look at the daily blotters that the greater media puts out there, the courts magistrating a lot of these drug offenders, a lot of the it's not just the Chamorros or the Filipinos. We're seeing a lot of our FSM citizens a part of that, and it's really alarming. That's where we're tracking the challenges that the community as a whole or society as a whole is dealing with. Is really drug addiction. How do we curtail that? How do we, envision finding ways of changing? And it's really, the challenge is there. But, if you're tracking, it's not just Chamorros Filipinos anymore. Now we're seeing FSM, FAS citizens that are being, stopped, and they're found in possession with crystal methamphetamine. And it's really, it's pretty much an equal playing field now within the various cultures that we have here on Guam. So, these are the things in which we've been tracking, understanding that, hey, we got to be mindful too that it's like I mentioned, there are no boundaries when it comes to illicit and the use of illicit drugs. So it's there. It's been reported to the community. I report some of our instances where we've made an arrest, and lo and behold, it's an FSM citizen. So understanding the uptick now from years past, it's evolved. It's actually changed. So we got to work. We got our work cut up for us. But this is great. Like I told Sabrina in the link, we're not going to hold our hands up and give up. We have to continue to work. And I had a conversation with some of our lead detectives from SAS, and one of the things that we talked about was how do we reinstill the culture back into not just the Guamanians, the Chamorros, and the Filipinos, but also our FAS and FSM citizen. And this was key. This was catch key for me, because that frequency of the conversation of culture and identity, we're doing it already, right? With Micronesian Resource Center in Manielo. But how do we continue to do this abroad with a bigger audience, a bigger perspective, and really have a sense of understanding that, hey, you know what, if we have some sense of cultural pride, we can actually see the needs of respecting our elders, listening to our sainas, listening to our aunties and our uncles, our parents, they play a critical part in this. And understanding that that's part of culture, that's part of being a Pacific Islander, that's part of being a Micronesian. Seeing this, how do we reinstill this back into the community? That's where I want to go with 2021, is finding ways to be culture centric now and understanding that there's a balance now we need to reinstill. Because when you look at it, a lot of our migrants family, we're looking at 3 generations now that migrated to Guam. They've established livelihood. They go to school, they work, and they have generations now that are, that grew up, born and raised in Guam. And some of the kids have strayed into following, idolizing Western style, gangsters and shenanigans, while other kids see an opportunity that, hey, I can gravitate towards this direction, and I have a better path for me for my career, my future. And we're seeing it. West Point is reporting a lot of the students that are graduating from Naval Academy, from West Point, are coming from the Micronesian community. So these are things in which we want to do, we want to bring back, but that's in the forefront. That's what we're looking at doing for 2021.
Amen. And Paul, again, thank you so much. I think, time is literally running out here on the Zoom. Thank you so much for the time. And like I said, moving forward is key. And, we were hoping for better things in 2021, get those events back on, get the kids out back there and, out on the field and let them play and take their minds off, whatever had them tempted, hopefully not, hopefully haven't gotten them, involved in any of these drugs and stuff. So, get them back onto the field and give them an outlet. And I think that's key. And I think that's what, Action talked about that in our first podcast, is giving the kids an outlet, to something else to do rather than just staying at home and, venturing into, committing crime or doing drugs. And I think we can't wait for these events to come back on, and the kids will love to get back on the field and have a great time. So, like I said, like you said, we're looking forward to better things in 2021. So, I'm hopeful. Like this is the year that we kind of change things around, do better things than that we did in 2020, and make the next couple years the best years.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it. We're counting. Continuing to pray, continue to the grace of God and everything that we see a better 2021. But nonetheless, we got to continue to work, man. We got to continue to stay in the grind. Stay in the grind and just keep bumping and pushing, man.
Amen.
That's all we got to do.
Amen. All right, Paul Tapao, ladies and gentlemen, bro, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with me again.
Thank you for having me, man. Stay safe, Guam. God bless.
All right, there you have it, guys. Paul Tapao, and that's another episode of the One Micronesia Podcast. We will see you guys next week at our next one. Peace.